Hi, so welcome to part two of the Life Reading Club mentoring series. And in part two, we will begin to describe the different hats that a mentor can wear, the different roles. And first of all, I want to be clear that it is not effective, it's not efficient for a mentor to wear multiple roles at the same time for one person. If the boundaries of the mentor relationship, the goals are not clear, then abuse is not far. Abuse in terms of waste of your time, waste of the mentor's time, and also even waste of resources, other resources. And so I would like us to now begin to discuss different roles that a mentor has, or different hats that a mentor puts on. And here is, first of all, I have 7 here, and by no means am I saying that this is all there is. And so it's important to realize that feel free to give your own experiences of different roles that mentors have played or should play. And so first is an advisor. And over here you can see who an advisor is. Usually it's somebody a little bit is above you. Usually it has authority. It could be a teacher, it could be a pastor, it could be the CEO of your company. But whatever it is, do you have to listen to what they have to say? Yes. If you don't listen, there will be consequences. You can get fired if it's at work. An advisor is similar to a supervisor. It's just that a supervisor it directly oversees your work. And so again, if you don't do what they tell you to do, it's a very hierarchical or top-down relationship. They tell you to do it, you do it. If you need help about doing it, you can ask them, but primarily you are judged based on what they tell you to do. And so I drew this figure, and what I want to point out in this figure here is that for an advisor or a supervisor, they look at your results first before they look at you. So you are as valuable as how well you are doing in this report card. So if it's a production company, how well is production coming in or out? If it is good, that means this person is happy with you. And so the person usually gives you commands, tells you what to do. And usually you use that command to approach work. It's all about work, whatever the deliverable is. Now, notice here there's a dark, big black wall between that mentor who takes the role of an advisor or a supervisor. There's a big wall between you and them and your own personal life. It is none of their business. Okay, so it's strictly about productivity, about what they want you to do. So that's one type of mentorship. Then you could have a mentor who is a consultant. Usually they are an expert in a field that you want to go. So for example, I want to go into, say, IT, or I want to go into say ministry. Then that consultant will be somebody who has done ministry, who understands that field, and you can ask them for advice. But do you have to listen? No, you don't have to listen. And so in this case, this is that mentor over here who is a consultant. They give you advice. Notice that the wall of separation is here. They don't know anything about your personal life except what you tell them. You can't see it here, but there's the report card. They don't see your report card. Whether or not you did what they told you to do, they don't see that. That's up to you. It's an advice. Third is you can have a sponsor. So this picture here is Dr. Tony Lumelu, who has a foundation, and that foundation runs an entrepreneurship program. Now, if you enroll in that program, and I welcome you to go and look into it if you're interested, they can give you as much as $5,000 to start your entrepreneurship idea. And so these people are door openers. They give you connections, they give you experiences, they give you money. And so, yes, it's also top down, it's hierarchical, but it's not just about advice or commands. It could be training is key in such a program like this. They will train you, and also they will give you resources. But one other thing you have to listen. Usually, if you commit to do the work to join these types of mentorship programs, you would have put in so much work. Yes, you are expected to listen to whatever they tell you, and they also expect that you will prove yourself that you are worth that investment. So there usually is criteria. It might be your GPA in school and things like that. And also you must be interested to apply. If you don't apply, you don't get considered. So that's a sponsor. And then, so again, a sponsor shares with you resources, and they want to see your results. So they have access to your results. And do they have anything to do with your personal life? That's none of their business. You can apply what you learned from them to your personal life. That's good, but they don't really care about your personal life. They care about the exact area that you want to succeed in, that made you apply to that program. Okay. Now, a coach. So when people hear coach, people think of somebody who is very close to you, behind your neck, telling you what to do, coaching you. That's maybe in sports. But the context of a coach that I'm talking about is somebody actually who asks you questions to help you find your own way, help you find your own answers. They realize and they believe in your capability, and they want to help you discover and bring that unique self out. Okay? And it's reciprocal. They don't tell you what you have a conversation, you tell them your goals. Eventually, everyone listens to you, ask you questions. They help you realize things like, oh, the reason I'm not doing well in, say, ministry is because I have not learned how to really talk to people very well. Or maybe when I was younger, a minister abused me, and so I am going into ministry with fear. Those types of deeper awareness, oftentimes we need a coach to help us identify them. And secondly, they might give us resources, some ways of some things that we can do to help us achieve a specific goal, or at least make progress in that particular area. So do you have to listen to them? You actually don't. So this is self-driven. So for you to subscribe to a mentor who works like a coach, you must be motivated on your own, and you must be ready to do the work for yourself. A coach doesn't judge you. Should you listen or not listen? They don't judge you, and you're responsible for your coach. And actually, coaching is actually a career. You can actually get certified to become a coach. Here in Nigeria, there's an International Coaching Federation. There's a Nigeria chapter, and you can subscribe and become a coach and be paid a lot of money. People are paid a lot of money as coaches. Then you could have a distant mentor. And I put this one here because at the last meeting, some people talked about following somebody remotely, virtually. They listen to their books, they read, they read their books, they listen to their messages. But these people don't know you. But you essentially, they work as a role model from afar, and you try to pattern your life after what they say about themselves, what they present about themselves. Again, do you have to listen? Is optional. It's self-driven. They don't judge you. They don't even know you. And so you are responsible for how far you can apply what you learn about them. And here the big line here is between you and that coach. They give you resources. The resources could be trainings, it could be messages, but there's a line between you and them. You don't know them, they don't know you, they don't see you. In some scenarios, you may be connected to them through somebody else. So if you're part of a big church, maybe your general overseer doesn't know you, or your lead pastor doesn't know you, but there's there's an area pastor, a parish pastor of his that is in direct contact with them and also in direct contact with you. That is one way to actually make the best use of this type of mentorship. You can learn directly more about them. You can learn more about, and you can get feedback from this secondary person, and believe that feedback is what the distant mentor, the distant pastor, can do for you. So, for example, I listened to this podcast on leadership by Craig Groeschel. The beautiful thing here is that he puts out learning guides, and the videos are always available. So that's one of the beautiful things about a distant mentor. You can always go back and reread and keep improving yourself. And many people do that. Then you could have a discipler. So a discipler is a unique one, and so it is based on a shared faith. A discipler works as a mix of a consultant and a coach, but they're very close to you. So unlike a coach that doesn't tell you what to do, a discipler at times can tell you what to do based on their understanding of that area of life. So, for example, Jesus was a discipled his followers, and it's reciprocal, and it's a formal relationship. It's not casual. It's not one time. So, a consultant, you can consult one time and not consult again, but a discipler is a formal relationship that you both know that you are in, and there's a commitment to development of the person being discipled or the mentee. Do you have to listen? I'll say it's self-driven, but yes, because it's usually initiated by the mentee, there's a lot of motivation to obey. Will they punish you if you don't obey? No, they will just let you go. And so, but because you are the one who knows how valuable they are to you, that's why you ask them to disciple you. It's your loss, not their loss. They can judge you and give you feedback in love, and you're responsible for your own growth, and they support you in many ways: advice, prayers, and books, resources, and they might even act as sponsors in some cases where they would give you some exposure to certain people or certain experiences. So some disciples can take you along with them when they go and minister, so that you can kind of watch, or you can help them in one way or another. So again, there's a resource from the discipler, but again here the thing is, they offer a lot of resources that is personal, so they have direct contact with you. Actually, so here again, a discipler has more influence. This picture here actually is is one step above a distance mentor. Why? Because it's closer, and the discipler has access to your results. You should show them your results, not just that they tell you something and you go and do it and you don't give them feedback. You need to keep showing that you are growing in that relationship according to the plan that you both set up together. So what are some strengths and weaknesses of this hat? So an advisor is a formal relationship. So this is really good if you're young in a field, you're trying to get into a field. The structure of having a mentor is really that is an advisor is really helpful. The weakness is, though, that it's usually only one area of your life, not it doesn't cut across many areas of your life, and you typically may have limited access to them, depending on how many people that they oversee. Same thing for an advisor. Again, when you want to learn a specific skill, a mentor that acts as a supervisor who looks at your work and the quality of your work and gives you feedback is very, very valuable if you're new to that field. And so, for example, I am new to doing podcasts, so I had to reach out to somebody to come and supervise what I'm doing and look at some examples of my podcast to tell me, is this good, is this bad, how can I change it so that it's more effective for my audience, and things like that. A consultant is great. They can give you advice, but a consultant is not good for somebody who is young in a field or who doesn't have a lot of experience. The reason is it is your job as a mentee to weigh the advice and see where it fits. And so if you don't even, let's say I want to go into say cryptocurrency. I've not even tried anything about cryptocurrency. I just jump into it. I don't even know what to ask for advice for. Okay. To expect a mentor who's acting as a consultant to teach me everything is putting too much burden on them. That's your responsibility to do. And so because you've not even done anything, you've not read about it, you've not tried some practice, you've not put some of your money to buy some cryptocurrency and see whether or not you can do it, whether or not you have the hardware, the software, the time, then why using a consultant at that level is not very productive. And so another thing is, particularly in the faith world, if your mentor also who's acting as a consultant is also somebody that has spiritual authority over you, it's easy for you to just defer to what they say and not think deeply and just say, because it's the man of God said it, that means I must do it. Well, that the man of God said it and that you must do it are different things. You have to, he's not the man of God that will do it for you. It's like saying the man of God will tell me who to marry. Well, I'm the one who needs to know if I'm compatible with this person and if we can, if the person fits my life goals. The man of God can now give me more counsel about whether or not to go ahead or whether this brother or that or this other brother. But the primary job of learning about that person is your job. You have to be the one to take the person on a date and find out what they like, what they don't like, what they believe, what they don't believe, before you commit. And then the man of God can now come in. So a consultant is good, but again, one should know when to contact a consultant for advice. And one other thing is, oftentimes we as human beings, we go to people that are like us, about the same age, about the same faith, about the same worldview. Then the consultant is not very useful because they would only tell you the things that you are likely to hear that you already know. Consultants are better when you don't, in areas where you don't have any expertise, where you're still learning things. A consultant is good in such scenarios. Get somebody different from you, different age, different ethnicity, different profession, and they can look at you and give you the different perspectives of what you're asking about. A sponsor is, of course, a good thing. And if we think about Barnabas to Paul, I think you should read that story in Acts chapter 11. And this is where scripture says in verse 27 that the believers were first called Christians in Antioch. So Barnabas knew the believers in Antioch and he saw what God had been doing because of the impact of the life of Stephen. The Bible says that, and Barnabas went to Tarsus to look for Saul. And when he found Saul, guess what he did? He brought him to Antioch. And so for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers of people. And then the disciples were first called Christians at Antioch. So the point here is, it's important to realize that Barnabas is really a mentor, but more of a sponsor. Paul, because of his reputation, could not have just gone straight to Antioch. But also, a sponsor knows the value in the mentee. He knows that Paul is highly educated and he will be good in Antioch. He also knows that Paul has given his life to Christ and that God had called Paul to the Gentiles. And these are Gentiles in Antioch, so it was good. But I also want to say that a sponsor is also limited by their resources, their network, and their biases. So one of the mandates over the life of Paul was to go and stand before kings. That's not Barnabas's job to mentor Paul. Barnabas has not stood before kings. And so when Paul had to stand before Caesar, in fact, there had to be a time where he and Barnabas had to fight along that journey. Eventually, Paul made it to Rome. If Paul stuck with Barnabas and said, you know what, I'm just going to go where my mentor is going, he would have not been able to go reach out to Rome. So it's important that if you have a sponsor, you know what role they play and what they're sponsoring you for. The same person cannot sponsor you in every area of life. Okay. Next is a coach. Now, a coach helps you become self-aware. That's a big strength. Helps you know what you value, what your values are, your strengths, your weaknesses. But the weakness here is if you're not motivated to change, there's nothing a coach can do for you. Okay. And next is a pastor, a distant pastor mentor. The good thing is the resources are very available. You buy the books on your own. You can do it on your own time, at your own pace, so you can do that. But the weakness is there's no accountability. There's no accountability at all. And finally, you have a disciple. So again, a discipler is a mix of a coach, a consultant, and the beautiful thing is they give you individualized feedback. They mentor you for who you are. It's two-way. And so I'd like you to look at the life of Apostle Paul and Timothy. And you can read 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 13 onwards, or even 2 Timothy chapter 5 or so, 4, 5, and see how Paul was talking to Timothy, and ask yourself, is he discipling Timothy, or is he a coach? Is he a sponsor for Timothy? So what is the cost of these relationships? First of all, in order of increase, that's why this thing is getting wider and wider. As a discipler, as somebody who's a mentee in a discipling relationship, you must really know yourself. Okay. For an advisor, you don't know yourself well at that level, but the farther down you go in these relationships, the more you need to know yourself to get the best out of it. So the consequences of the cost of these relationships, who bears the cost? For the first, advisor, supervisor, consultant, is the mentee. If you don't do it, it's your loss, not theirs. But when it's a sponsor, the cost is the sponsors. It's the person who's putting his reputation or his money down. But then when it gets to a coach, it's still your cost. You are the one who's seeking out a coach. But the unique thing about a discipler is the cost and the consequences are on both of you. It takes a lot to take on somebody to disciple. You need to pray for them. You need to check in with them. You need to role model for them. You need to follow up on them and challenge them. So it takes a lot of effort than we think. It's no surprising that Jesus walked with just 12 people, just 12, for 3.5 years. He was discipling them. They slept in the same room. They did the same thing. They were in the same places. They went fishing together. Everything they did together. They were in the storm together. So the cost is on both of them. Jesus knows that if he fails, they also fail. And so a discipler is one of the ultimate types of mentorship you can have. So who benefits? Well, in the case of an advisor, really it's the institution that benefits. It's not you directly. You may benefit as a mentee, but it's really the institution that the advisor is interested in. Supervisor benefits because if you do your work well, the supervisor gets good ratings, it can be promoted. You also benefit because you acquire skills and you do your work and you get your pay. For a consultant, though, who benefits? You are the one who benefits if you decide to do it. For a sponsor, who benefits? It's you. For a coach, you are the one who benefits. For a distant mentor, you are the one who benefits. But for a discipler, that's interesting. Neither of you, the benefit is not for either of you. It is not for either of you. It is not to grow that person's ministry. And I want to just use the example of John the Baptist here, and I'm reading the Gospel of John, let me first read chapter 1. Chapter 1, I'll read here verse 6 to 8. There was a man sent from God. So, is sent from God. Okay, and he came as a witness to bear witness about the light, that all might believe through him. So he's a channel. He is a channel. He was not the light, but he came to bear witness about the light. So he was sent and he was a witness. He was sent and he was a witness. That's the role of a mentor. okay, you are witnessing to Jesus, you are witnessing to God. You are helping the mentee do that too. Not necessarily build your ministry, but mentor, but to witness to the Lord. Okay, I'm going to read John chapter 2, verse 4 to 5 again. And it says, and Jesus said, not 2, verse 5. Let's read chapter 1, let me read verse 31. It says, I myself did not know him, but for this purpose I came baptizing with water, that he might be revealed to Israel. And John bore witness, I saw the Spirit descend on him. And he goes on in verse 34, I have seen and borne witness, this is the Son of God. So again, he is a witness. He is a witness. He is the one who lets people know about God. Okay. There's one commission, clear commission, to let people know that he is the light and he is the Christ. Simple as that. So here, both the mentor and the mentee, the goal is not, again, either of them, but that they may honor Christ, that they may live out the Great Commission, Matthew chapter 20, to go into the world and disciple nations. Okay, so if while doing this, there may be benefits to you, good. But if there's no benefit, all still remains that it's that the Lord will be glorified. And so neither of them are the direct beneficiaries. You are the mentor, who's the discipler, is enabling the mentee to be able to honor and witness to Jesus more and better and more effectively in their own unique way. Not to be like them, but to be like the Lord. There was a place where John said that I must decrease, he must increase. It's all about increasing Jesus. So, yes, can you increase Jesus by serving in your church and making your church grow? Yes. But the emphasis is not on the growth of your local assembly. It is on the growth of the church. I know this might be controversial to some people, but if we look at the life of Jesus and what he came to do, he said he came to do the will of the Father. And when he was praying for the disciples, he says that they may be one, not with him, with God. And so at every point in time, the direction is upwards, not on themselves. And so as a result, you do many things together, you pray together, you eat together, you have communion together. In that process, you're living in close proximity. There's a lot of feedback, also that you can both be better witnesses. So there's many secular organizations that work with each of these different models. So your advisor or supervisor, that's work. That's the typical way people work with you. That's the kind of hat that your mentors take on at work, either an advisor or a supervisor. So consultants will be designers, architects, people that you go and they do something for you one time and that's it. There could also even be people at work that you can ask for advice. Sponsors. So there are different sponsors. These are people that give you connections, that give you money, that give you trainings. And I put some examples here. Teach for Nigeria they do a lot of trainings for teachers. Andela, if you want to go into the tech world, IT tech startup business, Andela would be a place to go. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want somebody to help you look at your proposals, then Kudimata will support you. They will give you some money. They will give you resources. I know some people who won that competition. So Africa Global Missions is by the Redeemed Christian Church of God in partnership with the British Council. Again, through them you can learn to be a teacher. The 3 Million Technical Talent Program. It's through the government. Again, there are many of these opportunities that we can have to us to be sponsored. The Elumelu Foundation and people that The people I like the most are people I call angel sponsors. They just know you, they love you, and they sow into your life so that you can go and do something. Uh, when somebody sows into your life and gives you money, people say, oh, that's a testimony. No, that's not a testimony. The testimony really is when you use that thing and come back and give that person feedback, like, this is what I did, the parable of the talents. So that's those are sponsors. And then coaches. One organization that works with the model of a coach is an organization called Ashoka, and they will, if I know somebody who is doing good work, evidence-based, community-shaking work, I can recommend them to Ashoka, and then Ashoka will reach out, and then they will, whatever the person is doing, Ashoka will empower them to do it more. So they're like coaches. They don't tell you what to do, but they empower you to do the things you do, and they now give you money to do it better. On a national scale, Ashoka alone has supported over 5 Nobel Prize winners because of that model. Where any country in the world, if you're the one doing that meaningful social entrepreneurship work, they will reach out to you. If you are nominated and you can show evidence that you are excellent in your management, excellent in impact, they will then fund your project to be better. And then distant mentors, several. Everybody listens to some pastor or some ministry on the radio, on the internet. And then you have a discipler. So one secular organization that works in a discipler fashion is, so for example, your clubs like the Rotary Club. Why? Why do I say they work like disciplers? Because there is a value that is more than you. So they are about service to humanity, social impact. And so when you join them, the people there will help you to do more service. Okay. So that's a unique approach. Can you benefit in the process? Yes, but primarily it's about service to mankind. So I have said a lot of things, but to round up, I want you to go back and apply some of these things to your own life and think of 3 people who have mentored you. What hat were they wearing? Were they coaches? Were they advisors? Were they great mentors for you? What are some things that made them less effective? Look at your own way that you've mentored other people, junior people. Okay. So that's it. These are the resources, and I look forward to hearing your comments. This is a long video. Thank you for waiting till the end.